From a young age, my understanding of relationships between a young man and a woman was shaped by romantic books and movies about love, heroes saving princesses, knights, and dragons. These fairy tales usually ended the same way: the lovers lived happily ever after and died on the same day. Well, not the best guide to the complexity of human relationships. Unfortunately, schools don't teach much beyond a couple of sex education classes, so we often learn from our own mistakes. Her name was Emily. We started dating in college. We attended different universities, and I was 2 years older. She was incredibly beautiful, objectively speaking. Everyone who saw her agreed she was stunning. A blonde with blue eyes, tall 5'7", and yes, 5'7" is considered tall among the many shorter people in the area, with very harmonious facial features, a great figure, and all the right curves. She looked just like a princess from a fairy tale. And I have a thing for beautiful women, I can't help it. Yes, I was her first. I remember the struggles we had that first time, but things got better. Oh, those youthful sexual experiments. There was a time when she came over, wearing just a white skirt with nothing underneath. We spent the whole day having fun in all sorts of places, both convenient and not. It was a wild time. We dated for about a year. Everything was great. Then one day, she announced she was going to America for the summer, for 3 months. She wanted to improve her English and make some money. Work and travel programs were very popular and accessible for students back then. I was upset and tried to convince her not to go, but it was her dream, and I couldn't sign up in time, so she left. The first month was fine. We talked frequently, maybe not every day, but every other day. She told me how much she loved it there. She got a job in a clothing store, hanging clothes on racks. It was physically demanding, but the pay was great, much better than what students could earn back home. I think she made around $8 an hour. After a month, things started to change. She got upset with me for answering the phone with the wrong tone, saying I sounded rude and unhappy to hear from her. I explained, Emily, there's a half-day time difference. You call me when I'm sleeping, and my voice can't suddenly become melodic and pleasant. I told her I was always happy to hear from her. I really thought the problem was just my tone. Naive, right? I didn't know back then about this trick women use, finding something to argue about, like your tone of voice. You said the right thing, but you said it the wrong way. I've encountered this many times since, often with the same reasoning. It's like women have a director teaching them these tricks. Looking back with more experience in relationships, it's interesting to analyze. But back then, I wasn't laughing. My strong feelings for her didn't let me see the situation clearly. I had no romantic experience. They don't teach you this in school or show it in movies. Things got worse. She accused me of not loving her, of treating her badly, and so on. Typical blame shifting. I was naive and didn't understand what was happening. She practically stopped talking to me, blaming me for everything. It was easier for her to think, it's not my fault. He doesn't appreciate or love me. I encountered this a few more times later. She returned in September. I had written her love letters and poems, met her at the airport with flowers, and drove her home. I confessed my love and did all sorts of romantic things. She stepped off the plane looking stylish, proud, and unapproachable, as if the world was at her feet. After all, she had just returned from America, where she worked for Americans. By the way, this rose-colored glasses effect is common when women travel. It's why so many holiday romances happen. They live in the moment, thinking, this is amazing. I want to live like this forever. If there's a guy nearby who confirms this feeling, she's his. Never mind if it's not true. Women think in the moment, in the beautiful, happy moment. A few years later, after breaking up with Emily, a large group of us went on vacation to Turkey. A local beach vendor selling towels or tour took a liking to the single women in our group. We watched as he tried to charm one of them, Alina, every day. He claimed to own several businesses, including a restaurant and a sauna, and invited us all to dine there. He said he was a notable Turk, a Janissary, though he later admitted he was Tajik. He promised to marry Alina and live happily ever after. We didn't chase him away because we were constantly partying and found it amusing. We even went to see his restaurant once. It was a dump with 4 plastic tables, 2 of which were already occupied by Turks. He spoke to the bartender, and the Turks started talking to him. We felt uncomfortable eating there and left. He later told us all the tables were reserved, but our Tatar friends understood Turkish and heard the Turks telling him to leave. It's a common Turkish trick to impress women by claiming a random cafe is theirs. In reality, most Turkish men just want to sleep with white women and have an endless supply of sweet talk. But women on vacation love hearing these stories and believing in impossible dreams. Even mature and seemingly wise women fall for this. A friend who returned from the UAE told me life is about having fun and living in the moment, not staying in Moscow. She planned to return there permanently in a few weeks. When I asked what she would do when her money ran out, she said she'd figure it out. Rational planning took a backseat to the allure of a glamorous life. This post-vacation inspiration usually lasts a week or two before reality sets in. So, with my flowers and declarations of love, I found myself unworthy of this queen's attention. Proudly, she said we couldn't be a couple. She criticized the flowers, saying they were small and wilted, but she took them anyway. I went home to grieve and beat myself up, crying into my pillow and all that. The pain of first love is the strongest. Each new heartbreak hurts less. Back then, I suffered for about 6 months. With my last girlfriend, it was only a couple of weeks. Emily stayed on my mind, since I had nothing better to do for those 6 months than walk around looking sad and thinking about her. I entertained myself by stalking her on social media and doing other silly things. I checked her photos on Facebook or of contact and walked by her house, secretly hoping to bump into her. One day, I accidentally logged into her email, and there it was, go shit. Love letters, very active ones. Of course, with an American guy, the pieces fell into place. My lingering pain returned with new force because it's one thing to be dumped, but another to know someone else is with your beloved princess. Shock joined my sorrow. The shock intensified when I saw their photos together. She had carefully sent them to him. Another mutual friend, who had traveled with her and whom we also knew, had taken the pictures. Women stick together. There he was, a fat, short, 45-year-old Indian man, hugging this young, 20-year-old, fair-skinned nymph. They were in swimsuits on the beach. He was the store manager where she worked, not some handsome American. I'm not exaggerating, he was a pot-bellied, bow-legged Indian man. So, you see how important the concept of travel or adventure is to women and how it can cloud their judgment. She was willing to sleep with anyone just to be closer to her dream life. Their correspondence was explicit, more like porn. She wrote, "Oh, darling, I loved it when you came inside me. And how you screamed, 'Oh, it is coming, it is coming.' I was shocked, but it helped me get over the situation." It's one thing to be dumped by a princess, but another to be replaced by a socially irresponsible woman sleeping with her boss for a visa extension and a chance to stay in America. Anger, alcohol, and a few new women helped me accept the loss. To those who say it's unethical to read someone else's messages, I say it's unethical to cheat and sleep with Indians while in a relationship. Everything else is just a consequence of that betrayal. After that, I didn't contact her, and I moved on. A couple of years later, we did meet again, purely by chance. The veil had long lifted from my eyes, and though she was still beautiful, I no longer looked at her with love. We talked for about 20 minutes, and I learned another trick women use, denying everything, no matter the facts. Even though we hadn't been together for a long time, she still lied. "I guess being called a slut isn't pleasant," I asked her. "Remember when we broke up, and you went to America again? Were you seeing someone there?" "No way, I'm not like that," she said, with wide, innocent, outraged eyes. She denied everything. I told her I knew the truth and saw the shock in her eyes. Then I asked, "Why didn't you stay there and marry him like you planned?" "His family wouldn't allow it. He's from an ancient Indian caste, and they forbid marrying white women." I asked, "Do you really believe that?" "Yes. He regretted it and will always love me." Sure, the guy just wanted to sleep with an exotic white girl and then dumped her, blaming tradition. So, if you're Indian or Turkish, you can seduce women on vacation by telling them sweet lies. You don't have to follow through. I never learned to do that. At first, my moral principles wouldn't allow it. How could I lie to women claiming to be a ship captain who would take them to an exotic land where I was a prince. And I had a little cafe for fun. Now, I'm just too lazy to put on an act. I tell it like it is because I don't want to waste time on casual flings. The point of deceiving and dumping women is just that, casual sex. In the end, I didn't learn much from that experience. I thought it was a one-time thing, a result of one person's poor moral character.